Welcome back to F&I Direct. I'm your host Al Salas, and today I prepared a really interesting, some thought provoker, some thought questions that I have for you that I want to share and see what your thoughts are on some of these topics. And today we are going to talk about topics around a proper pencil process. First thing I have a question for you folks out there, and the first thing I want to ask you is are you running credit applications or credit reports before or after you're quoting payments in the dealership? No right or wrong way to answer. I mean, we have clients that do it one way, and we have clients that do it the other way, and really, dealer partners that we have find success in either way, as long as obviously you have a process attached to it. So I'm curious how some of you guys do out there as far as running credit before or after quoting payments. If you do it before, then it's important to have a flow rate. If you do it after, there's also importance of doing the flow rate. What I mean by that is an average flow rate that you're using. You can base that based on the customer's credit score, or you can base that based on just your average flow rate for your store. If you do it before, then you're setting up the F&I department. You have to have a strong F&I department so that those customers with less than perfect credit don't slip through the cracks. And if you're doing it after, then you definitely have to have a strong F&I department so that they can recoup or even maximize on the F&I profitability. There's, again, no right or wrong way to do it, but there are definitely some best practices. And if you're doing it after, you're obviously want to be careful into the discretionary rates that you're giving to the customers. You don't want to open yourself to compliance. So now you have to think about compliance on that end as well. And we always want to run credit with authorization, proper authorization from the customer by either having a signed credit application or an electronic authorization for credit if they're filling out our credit applications online. But onwards, are you utilizing a payment matrix for your pencils, giving a customer different payment options? Or are you just traditionally using a traditional four-square method, or some dealers we see don't even have a method? So the biggest thing here is that you need to have a method. The most successful payment method or quoting that method that we've seen is the multi-payment matrix that allows the customers to see different terms, different down payments, without you having to go into too many of the details, and allowing a little bit more flexibility when your customer sits down with the F&I manager, if you have one in your store, or even with the salespeople if they're completing all the documents. So having a payment matrix is very important in some sort of payment process and disclosing payments to the customer. Are you obtaining a payment commitment on the floor? Whereas the customer going into the F&I process blind, not knowing what a payment is going to be, not knowing what it's going to be. Again, no right or wrong way of doing this, but certainly having a payment commitment on the floor is going to give more clarity into the process. It's going to actually give more clarity to the business manager as to what they need to do to make a profitable deal, and it's definitely going to give more clarity to the customer, reducing anxiety because they have an idea. As long as these other things that we've mentioned are being part of a process and the process is being followed. And that's something that is very important to keep in mind. And last but not least, you should definitely have some built-in flexibility without being uncompliant, I should say. And by payment flexibility, I don't mean packing payment, guys. I mean having some sort of I would say more room for the bank's approvals and different term options. So if your desk manager is penciling deals at 75 and 84 months, that doesn't necessarily leave that flexibility for your business manager to, if a customer is seeing value in a product but they didn't necessarily want to go up in budget, you want to leave that flexibility up for your business manager as much as possible. So that's what we mean by flexibility. And also, again, leaving some of that information to get determined in the F&I office is definitely going to allow you to have more profits in your dealership. I want to thank you again for tuning in. I'm your host, Al Salas. I'm with F&I Direct, and I will see you in the next video. But if you liked this video, please click the like button, subscribe, or comment depending on what platform you're seeing. And I'd love to see your comments as to what some of the best practices that you're seeing in your dealership that are helping you have a more compliant and a more proper pencil process. That's a mouthful. And in your dealership. Again, thanks again for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.